After Tunde held my hand that evening in the kitchen, something inside me refused to return to normal again. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling until morning. Sleep never came. Each time I closed my eyes, I kept feeling the warmth of his fingers again. And the worst part was not even the touch itself. It was my own reaction to it. Because for the first time since my husband died, another man had started occupying my mind in ways that frightened me. Around past 2 that night, sleep still refused to come. I had tried praying earlier, but even prayer no longer felt the same these days. My mind refused to stay still long enough to speak to God sincerely anymore. So instead, I carried my phone and tried distracting myself. First, Facebook, then random videos, then old pictures inside my gallery. Anything to stop thinking about Tunde. But no matter what I did, my mind kept returning to him again. To his voice, to his eyes, to the way my body reacted whenever he came close to me. Frustrated, I dropped the phone beside me angrily. But before the screen went off completely, one old picture suddenly appeared from my gallery memories. My late husband, smiling, alive. Immediately, something tightened inside my chest. For a long time, I just stared at his face. And the terrible thing was, I did not only feel anger. I felt something worse than anger. I felt gratitude. Because somehow, if this man had not destroyed me so completely before dying, I would never have been lonely enough to respond to Tunde. His destruction was the reason I was standing at this edge. And that realization frightened me more than anything else that had happened so far. Then suddenly, anger entered me again, because the man smiling inside that photograph was the same man who destroyed my life before dying. The same man who slept around carelessly until he brought sickness home to me. The same man who left me carrying shame quietly for years. And somehow, without planning it, his daughter's husband was beginning to awaken the same destruction inside me all over again. I picked up the glowing phone slowly. Then before I realized what I was doing, I turned the screen face down against the mattress. And the moment I did that, fear entered me immediately. Because deep down, it felt like I had just betrayed my husband and my daughter at the same time. The next morning, I avoided Tunde completely. I stayed inside the kitchen almost the entire day pretending to be busy. Whenever I heard his footsteps, I found one excuse or another to leave the room. But avoiding him was becoming harder now. Not because he was forcing himself on me. No, that would have been easier. The frightening thing was that a part of me had already started noticing his absence whenever he was not around. And that realization terrified me badly. And yet, I stayed. Around noon, Jane sat beside me in the sitting room breastfeeding the baby while watching television. Then suddenly, she smiled softly. "Mommy," she said, "thank you for everything." I forced myself to smile back. For what? For helping me since I gave birth. Honestly, if not for you, I don't know how I would have survived these past few weeks. That simple statement alone nearly made me cry. But before I could respond, she laughed again and added, "And even Tunde likes you too much now. Sometimes I think he listens to you more than me." My chest tightened instantly. Jane noticed nothing. She adjusted the baby wrapper gently and continued speaking happily. "You know he hardly talks to anybody normally. But these days, anytime he comes back from work, the first person he looks for is you." Jesus Christ. I suddenly felt sick inside my stomach. For a moment, I looked at my daughter properly. The way she held her baby. The way she smiled without suspecting anything. The way she trusted me so completely that she did not even consider the possibility. I had raised this girl. I had drunk garri so she could eat. I had cried quietly at night so she would not hear. And now, the same hands she trusted to rock her baby were the same hands her husband had held inside the kitchen the previous evening. I had sacrificed my own youth to keep her clean from the filth of the world. I protected her from her father's shadow, only to allow that same shadow to grow directly inside her own matrimonial home. Looking at her face, I felt like a thief sitting inside a sanctuary. Something inside me wanted to stand up and confess everything immediately, but the words refused to come out because another part of me, the darker part, was already quietly counting the hours until Tunde would come home from work. And that was the moment I finally understood how completely I had lost myself. Because while my daughter sat there smiling innocently beside me, her husband had already started occupying dangerous spaces inside my mind. And worst of all, I had allowed it. That evening, heavy rain began falling again. The kind of rain that makes everywhere feel trapped and lonely. Jane traveled to a nearby pharmacy to buy baby drugs after the baby developed slight fever. Before leaving, she turned near the door and smiled at me. "Mummy, please help me serve Tunde food if I'm late." I nodded quietly. The moment she left, the silence inside that house changed immediately. I cannot explain it properly, but somehow, whenever Jane was around, my conscience still breathed a little. The moment she left, everything between me and Tunde suddenly felt more dangerous. The walls of the sitting room suddenly felt closer. The heavy thumping of the rain on the roof stopped being background noise. It became a wall of sound, locking the two of us inside a tomb where my conscience could no longer find oxygen. I tried distracting myself by arranging clothes in the sitting room, but my mind refused to stay calm. Then I heard the gate open outside. Tunde was back. My heart started beating immediately. I hated that reaction, hated it, yet I could not stop it anymore. The man entered the sitting room soaked slightly from rainwater. The moment our eyes met, that same dangerous silence returned again. "You are alone?" he asked softly. I nodded. Jane went to buy drugs. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke again. Rain beat heavily outside. Water dripped slowly from his shirt onto the floor. Then quietly, he removed his wristwatch and placed it on the table. "I think the rain will last long today," he said. I said nothing, because even ordinary conversations with him were starting to affect me now. And he knew it. That was the frightening part. Tunde knew. I quickly stood up. "Let me go and bring your food." But as I tried walking past him, the man suddenly spoke again. "You've been avoiding me." I stopped immediately. Not because I wanted to answer, but because hearing him say it aloud made the truth impossible to hide anymore. Slowly, I turned back. "Tunde, this thing is wrong." For the first time since all this started, his expression changed slightly. Not playful, not confident, serious. "Then why can't you stop thinking about me?" he asked quietly. My heart nearly stopped. I opened my mouth to answer. Nothing came out. I tried again. Still nothing. Because every answer I could give him was also a confession. If I said yes, I was confessing. If I said no, I was lying. And somehow, Tunde already knew both things. He was not asking because he wanted to know. He was asking because he wanted me to hear myself admit it. That was the cruelest part. He already knew the answer. He just wanted to watch me face it. He looked down at his wristwatch on the table, a cold, knowing smile playing on his lips, completely controlling the silence between us. Then suddenly, NEPA took light. Darkness swallowed the sitting room instantly. At the same moment, thunder roared loudly outside. I gasped softly, and before I could move away properly, I felt Tunde step closer inside the darkness, very close. Close enough for my body to betray me again. "Tunde, please," I whispered. My hand rose slowly in the darkness, not to push him away, not to reach for him, just rising. Even I did not know what it was doing, or maybe I did. And that was the most frightening truth of all. It was the exact same hand that had turned my husband's memory face down an hour ago. Now, in the dark, it was moving on its own accord, completely detached from my prayers, answering a call that would ruin my daughter's life forever. To be continued.